you've mentioned the Queen of Orion, and it reminds me that I read something on Facebook. There was a page put together by Vesna, and someone wrote something there, which I just decided to copy it and read for you to hear and make some commentary on it, because there's a lot there. Okay, the writer says, actually, all magic is metaphysical energy. It is basically astral energy. Witches and warlocks use this kind of magic. Sorcerers, on the other hand, use non-corporeal, non-metaphysical energy, which is just pure thought. What it means is by using non-metaphysical energy, you can just think something and it will manifest. Like, for example, I think of a car and it just pops out like that. Basically, sorcerers just use their mental body while being here on the physical to do things. Both black and white magic are not bad. There is no such thing as right or wrong, good or bad. Just that's just what the so-called gods of men want you to think, to be stuck in a dualistic mind, so that you can't see the all-is, which is beyond anything dualistic. It's only the intent of a person using that kind of power that can be dangerous or not. If the person's intent is to kill you, then it is dangerous. If it's to warp reality, then it's not dangerous. They are good or bad only. That's only the intent of a person determines what he does with that power. Also, witches and warlocks and sorcerers do exist there. The English is not very so. Do exist there as part of the supernatural world, just like vampires, werewolves, elves, unicorns, mermaids. Now, why is it that we can't see them if they are real? Because of the supernatural security pact of 33 AD, created by the Calumnum god, and the rest of the lords of Karma, to stop mankind from overpowering the so-called gods. The so-called gods fear mankind, and anyone who becomes aware and knows the truth about them. Like I said before, Atlantis time, my past life there, I was known as a god killer. So, and then it says, before I was known as a god killer before the flood of forgetfulness. People could do a lot more, even kill a so-called god. The Queen of Orion had her own god killer, who was my brother. Unlike my brother, I did not work for any god, and would go around as I pleased. So I thought I should read this write up to you, and it mentions the Queen of Orion. Says he was in Atlantis, and he was a god killer. The gods fear mankind, and so they entered into a pact, a supernatural security pact in AD 33 with the lords of Kama. So it's a lot of stuff here that I wanted to ask you. So what do you say about this?
Sounds like the movie Braveheart, doesn't it? Yeah, with Mel Gibson. And we've all been through a lot and decided certain things, and Excalibur, which was, dealt with Merlin and those days, etc. We've been through that. But today, the magicians use technology, is what they use. Black magic technology, Wi-Fi, atomic weaponry, lasers, etc. And yes, things can be used as a benefit. These are the opposites that exist in creation, and we go from one to the other because, for the most part, we are all creative here. It's understandable. We want to survive. Life is all about survival. It's not about business. It's not about relationships. It's about survival. And so through creation, we've created these other ideas, okay? And so just kind of going back, you look at the movie 2001, and in the beginning you see the gorilla, you see the monkeys jumping around. Okay, so that's the idea, and that is that were they interested in getting a better job, or buying a new car, or even finding a date, okay, and getting married and having kids? No, their whole thing was survival, and that's really how it started off. But from there, as we've come through lifetime and lifetime, we'll just use that for the fun of it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter where it started. There is no start. It's just whatever it is, whatever's decided, and it becomes so. That's really what it is. And so people want a good story, and so the story writers are out there. They're writing good stories. I wrote good stories, my adventures, etc. I made them into romantic adventures, and there's a part of us that wants that, because that is the adventure of life, and it gets people to notice certain things more so than whatever. So everybody has their story to tell. And so, yeah, this is fun things to look at, but realistically, what is taking place now? And so, that sounds like a good movie, The God Killers and whatever. And so, it does give a point of view, but it's always the individual making his choice in the here and now, what's going on realistically. And for the most part, these are, fantasy, romantic ideas that people like. All of us like these things. I like it too, or being James Bond or whatever. And so, so the end result is, through all of this, through all of creation that we've, experienced, we come to the point where we're provided the opportunity. We've come through all this to eventually recognize there's something else. And, do we go for that, this unknown part, and see what's going on? So, yeah, all these things will continually take place. And the real guides have nothing to do with any of it. They're just simply, they utilize creation for this or that, mainly demonstrations, etc., and they will work along the lines of, you might say, assisting others in certain situations to get them to see if they'll wake up. That's the whole idea. They're always focused on how to present something or help something along, you might say, to where the individual recognizes the true reality beyond creation itself. It's not necessarily to fix situations, okay? Sometimes it is, but that's not the idea. So, again, as people come into the new presentation, Charles, many of them say, well, I don't have a job, or I need money, or, I like this person, I want to meet them. And so if I do the new you, will that help? Well, again, the new you is the real connection to the true reality. And the whole idea there is that you become more aware through it. You start to see, okay? And so from that seeing, from that awareness, you decide, how to get the job, how to get the girl, or whatever it is. It's, that's the whole idea. It's about becoming more aware, or you decide to see past all of that. Again, you have the choice. And so, yeah, those are interesting stories. I appreciate you bringing it up. And again, it's, just the idea of the battle, the God killer. And yeah, the Queen of Orion. Yes, we're into eons here to where unknowingly, again, it's like, anything that basically happens in the world, in the political system, they've already set it up to blame someone else so it looks like they did it. And so in the same with the Queen, this is where they got all their training, all the deceptors got their training from. Originally the Queen, the Orions, the reptilians, etc. And, even before that, they figured it out, how to deceive others. So, what's going on in the world. Hey, the bankers, which they're part of, the cartel, the cabal, whatever, and all these governments, etc. They're all part of this. And so many people think, well, it's them, but really there's more behind it. And this is where we're bringing out the Orion Queen, because there is a bigger picture here to be exposed. But it's not about bringing out the news. It's about showing people how, certain ideas and attachments keep them from recognizing what is real. That's the whole idea. It's not just the information alone, because again, it's just stories and experiences that people have went through. And just like I've written my books, which I've said many times, they're references. So what you're bringing forward is a reference. And so when I look at anything, it's just like we talked about the news here and what's going on in the Gaza and Syria and all this stuff. Okay, fine. So when I look at anything, I look at it, it's like, okay, how can this reference in some way, is it workable in some way to reference the all is, the true reality? Is there some way that I can creatively work it? Well, I can work anything. But the thing is, I'm not going to take everything and work it, because things are touchy too. These are touchy subjects. And when I'm on Facebook, if I'm sharing something, I don't touch those things. I don't touch the Israel thing and the United States and all this funny stuff that they're creating purposely to instigate a confusion and distortion with others. I don't touch that stuff and anything to do with the wars and patriotism and all this stuff, because again, these are touchy subjects. I kind of go to here and there, or I'll leave a note here or an image here and there. So I don't touch those things, because you're just like sticking your hand in the wasp's nest, and it's not necessary. So again, that's a good story, and it's like a movie. Many movies we've seen, and the movies are great because they're really documentaries, and it really adds up to life is big. It's a lot bigger than we consider, and all this confusion today, all of it, it's all okay. It really is. Doesn't matter how bad it gets. It's all okay for those few that can see it, see past it. Lucky you, because it's all okay. You can handle it, because you can't stop it. We're not here to stop it. Not here to fix the world or save the world or whatever. Cannot do that. I cannot make choices for others. And even when I present this, sometimes people think, oh, okay, we'll just give this out there and everybody will recognize he is. No such thing. I'm not thinking for others. You cannot do that. They have free will, good or bad or whatever. They make their choices. And this is where I've seen so many people go. It's like, okay, they're not really recognizing the real guidance. It's not about me. I'm just managing this here, you might say, and being tortured at the same time with it. But it's fine. I like the adventure. And again, this is a love affair. The reference aspect, okay, it's very, very important. So when you see these things, Charles, you decide what you're going to do with them. So I look at certain things, and is it a workable reference for what we're doing now? And now it might be something in the future, because we're going to meet these things. I'm here to meet everything head on. Paul did what he did in his day. And this is why most people cling to religion or spiritual paths. That's why they get down on their knees and put their head to the ground. You know what? They're like ostriches in the sand. They want to hide. And they're pretending that their belief ideas, which are just ideas, will save them from whatever their idea is, and they'll even go to brutal tactics to reinforce this, to where they beat each other, they do certain things, celibacy, all these things, whatever their ritualism is, to where they will just grind themselves into the ideas of these things. And, none of it's necessary. None of it. Again, do you see the birds doing it? You see the animals doing it, especially the birds. You see them doing this stuff. When I go down to the beach, I see the seagulls having the greatest life. They get to stand there and they get to stare at the ocean, hear the ocean sound. They get to stare into the sun and fly around. And, they're cool. But they've been bred too to eat the garbage of humans, so they dig in the trash cans and whatever. But for the most part, they see beyond all the nonsense, and it is really a seeing aspect. And this is where the literal mind, because this is why they created the educational systems, was to literalize people, to make them think that being intellectual and outsmarting others is the way to go. It's like, oh, you're smarter. Like the business world with Trump and Buffett and all these guys and Gates and whatever. It's like, oh, these are the smart guys in the world. Oh, yeah, well, these are the guys that are helping destroy the world. These are the smart guys. And, you should be like them. They went to Princeton, Yale, and whatever. Yeah, all these institutions that are cabal-orientated and et cetera, to keep people literalized. And this is where, when people come into this, which is more so than the literal mind, but that's a very small aspect of it, they're confused because they're constantly looking at all the literalization that they've accumulated and thinking. That's just like talking to your computer and saying, okay, what's the answer? Well, we got the robots today and Google, the Google God that gives us certain answers and translations. So we're thinking, okay, well, I've got this source. That's my source. Well, really, you can do a lot better than that, but you decide, and that's your real awareness. So, all these things add up to what is the end result, Charles, and that is that how is it that it can relate to a reference to what points to the all is, the true reality life is? How can it do that? So with all that's going on, so some things you just don't touch. I just don't touch because it's really a lot of nonsense, really a lot of deception. And I'm not going to clear up all the deception. That's not the idea. I'm not going to speak about all of it. But what I've just said here, this becomes set to where people can listen to this and decide for themselves. But I suggest to, as I always do, learn to recognize the isness, learn to recognize the real guidance, pay attention, because you know what? There is nothing else. There is no life here. And I'm writing another group. It's called Who is Important? And that is like, is your president important? Is your neighbor important? Is your mate important? Is your teacher, your parents, is the Queen of England, or is the business world, is Wall Street? I would say Reb Sarin, the real guides to the real universes. That's the most important for me. All these other people, they're making choices. Hey, have fun. I've been through the relationships and all that, and I left the best of times, many times, to do this because this is real and it makes sense. But it's not for everybody, because you have to really see it, and you're not going to see it until you are 100% a real risk taker, to where you let everything go, every attachment, every emotional idea, etc., to where you are real, and then you can handle everything. If it's your relationships, if it's cleaning the house or whatever, hey, nothing is negated. It's you just see better, but who will do that? You see, for the most part, for most people, their emotional attachments, their ideas of life, what they've come through, all these things, they've awarded themselves, and so their awards are more important. Well, you can have whatever you want. Everybody can. And the end result will be is what you decided. It won't be more than that, but you can think it is, but guess what? It won't be. It really won't be. So, yes, thank you for that story. And yes, the Queen of Orion is there. The adventure continues. Mainly Claudia and I and Kelsey will be recording these things. There's a lot bigger picture. Anybody can start to see it on the real side, but again, not everybody's allowed to see it because, again, until it's ready, It's like, kind of like a cake in the oven. You don't want to open the door too many times because it only takes longer. So, yes. Again, I love the adventure. I like the challenge of putting it together, and it is huge. And I cannot make the choices for others as people come and go. You know, they make that choice, but they blame it on me. It's like, oh, you're this, Duane, you're that, you said this, you did that. All I'm trying to do is show people how to wake up and, survive better for themselves. But if they want to make all this stuff up, that's fine too. I'm not concerned. I'm simply focused. And this reality that's being presented here can only last so long, like everything. And then it becomes kind of funny because things happen here. That's how it is. So get ready, because there's more. But at the same time, again, all there is your real awareness, and you decide your adventure to see more. So, but I suggest to look to Revizar and the real guides. It's always there. Even if you don't recognize it, it's still there. It's still the isness of life. Learn to recognize this reality, and it has nothing to do with your intellect or your literalization or your mind. It's better than that, but you must learn to see it. So, again, these stories can give a hint, Charles, and these ideas, and where do they fit? So, anything can be weaved into something, and this is where, again, because the world is so literalized, it becomes confused by really sound good stories. And even what I'm presenting, the idea is that you don't want to stick to the adventures that I'm presenting. No, they're just references. It's like when you get a new car, you get a manual. You don't need the manual after a while. So again, it's just something we go through, but at the same time, it is the best reference around to the real universes beyond creation, because most people think that, creation is everything and that they must deal with it and they must battle the bad guys or whatever the idea is. And this is why they've set up religions, and that is to battle the so-called devil. Well, this whole idea was created by the reptilians, and we'll just use Inky as it's like there's a god on one side, and also forgot to mention it, but there's the devil over here. He's trying to destroy everything God does. And so again, they created these ideas to confuse people and keep them in confusion. And here we are eons later. It could be, billions of lifetimes and yugas and whatever. You don't know. It doesn't matter. But people are still confused. And so we're just presenting something that makes sense, and that is that recognizing your real awareness and the real universes and the real guidance. And that's why I promote Revizar, because him and the others, but Revizar is fun on the real side, and Claudia and I are going through this with the Queen of Orion and other things, which I like the adventures like Flash Gordon. And so, but it's very real. It's more real than what's taking place here with the phenomena that is chased by everyone, basically. So better than Mickey Mouse. Yeah, so again, thank you for asking, Charles.